439, I found the book, chapter 22. Josiah was 8 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 31 years in Yerushalayim, and his mother's name was Jedidah, the daughter of Azariah of Bozkath. 2. And he did that which was right in the sight of the Lord, and walked in the way of David his father, and did not turn aside to the right hand or to the left. Now in the 18th year of King Josiah, the king sent Shaphan the son of Alaziah, the son of Meshullam the scribe, to the house of the Lord, saying, 4. Go up to Hilkiah the high priest, that he may deliver the silver which has been brought into the house of the Lord, which the keepers of the door have collected from the people. 5. And let them deliver it into the hand of the workmen who have the oversight of the house of the Lord, and give it to the doers of the work which is in the house of the Lord, to repair the breaches of the house. 6. To the carpenters and to the builders and the masons, and to buy timber and hewn stone to repair the house of the Lord. 7. However, there was no accounting made with them of the money that was delivered into their hands, because they dealt faithfully. Eight. And Hilkiah the high priest, or Hilkiah the high priest, said to Shaphan the scribe, I have found the book of the law in the house of the Lord. And Hilkiah gave the book of the law to Shaphan the scribe, and he read it. 9. And Shaphan the scribe came to the king, and brought the king word again, saying, Your servants have delivered the money that was found in the house, and have delivered into the hand of the workmen who have the oversight of the house of the Lord. 10. And Shaphan the scribe spoke to the king, saying, Hilkiah the priest has given me a book. And Shaphan read it before the king. 11. And when the king heard the words of the book of the law, he tore his clothes. 12. And the king commanded Hilkiah the priest, and Ahikam the son of Shaphan, and Akbor the son of Micah, and Shaphan the scribe, and Ashiah, a servant of the king, saying, 13. Go inquire of the Lord for me, and for all the people, and for all Judah, concerning the words of this book that has been found. For great is the wrath of the Lord that is kindled against us, because our fathers have not hearkened to the words of this book, to do according to all that is written in it. 14. So Hilkiah the priest, and Ahikam, and Akbor, and Shaphan, and Ashiah went to Huldah, the prophetess, the wife of Shallum, the son of Tikvah, the son of Hadhas, the keeper of the weapons. Now she dwelt in Jerusalem, studying the law. See 2 Chronicles chapter 34:22. Okay. And they talked with her. 15. And she said to them, Thus says the Lord God of Israel, tell the man who sent you to me. 16. Thus says the Lord, Behold, I will bring evil upon this country, and upon its inhabitants, even all the words of this book, which the king of Judah has read. 17. Because they have forsaken me, and have burned incense to other gods, and provoked me to anger with all the works of their hands. Therefore my wrath shall be kindled against this place, and I'll destroy you, says the Lord. 440. Josiah's reforms. 18. But to the king of Judah who sent you to inquire of the Lord, thus you shall say to him, Thus says the Lord God of Israel, concerning the words which you have heard. 19. Because your heart was sad, and you trembled before the Lord when you heard what I spoke against this country and against its inhabitants, that they should become a desolation and a curse, and have torn your clothes and have wept before me, I also have heard you, says the Lord. 21. Behold, therefore I will gather you to your fathers, and you shall be gathered into your grave in peace, and your eyes shall not see all the evil which I'll bring upon this country. And they brought the king word again. Chapter 23, and the king sent, and they gathered to him all the elders of Judah and Jerusalem too. And the king went up to the house of the Lord, and all the men of Judah and all the inhabitants of Jerusalem with him, and the priests and the prophets and all the people, both small and great. And he read before them all the words of the book of the covenant which was found in the house of the Lord. 3. And the king stood by a pillar and made a covenant before the Lord, to walk after the Lord, to keep his commandments and his testimonies and his statutes with all their heart and with all their soul, to perform the words of this covenant that were written in this book. And all the people agreed to the covenant. 4. Then the king commanded Hilkiah the high priest, and the priests of the second order, and the keepers of the doors, to bring forth out of the temple of the Lord all the vessels that were made for Baal, and for the idols, and for all the host of heaven. And he burned them outside Jerusalem in the fields of Kidron, and carried the ashes to Beth El. Five. And he slew the priests whom the kings of Judah had ordained to burn incense in the high places in the cities of Judah, and in the places round about Jerusalem, and those also who burned incense to Baal, to the sun, and to the moon, and to the planets, and to all the host of heaven. 6. And he brought out the idol from the house of the Lord outside Jerusalem to the brook Kidron, and burnt it at the brook Kidron, and ground it to dust, and cast the dust of it upon the graves of the common people. 7. And he destroyed the houses of the Sodomites, which were in the house of the Lord, and the house of the women who were hanging for the who wove hangings for the idols. 8. And he brought all the priests out of the cities of Judah, and defiled the high places where the priests had burned incense in them, from Dan to Beersheba, and destroyed the shrine which was at the entrance of the gate of salvation, which was on a man's left hand at the gate of the city. 9. Nevertheless, the priests of the high places did not come up to the altar of the Lord in Jerusalem, but they did eat of the unleavened bread with their brethren. 10. And he destroyed the high places which the kings of Judah had made in Taphath, which is in the valley of Bar Hannom, that no man might make his son or his daughter to pass through the fire to Amalek. 11. And he slew the horses which the kings of Judah had given to the sun at the entrance of the house of the Lord, by the chamber of Nathan the king's eunuch, which was in the suburbs, and burned the chariot of the sun with fire. 12. And the altar that was on the top of the upper chamber of Ahaz, which the kings of Judah had made, and the altars which Manasseh had made in the two courts of the house of the Lord, did the king beat down and broke them down from thence, and cast the dust of them into the brook Kidron. Josiah's death. 13. And the high places that were before Jerusalem, which were on the right hand of the mount of corruption, which Solomon the king of Israel had built for Ashtaroth, the goddess of the Zidonians, and for Shemosh, the idol of Moab, and for Malcham, the idol of the children of Ammon. did King Josiah destroy. "14. And he broke in pieces the images and cut down the idols and filled their places with bones of men. 15. Moreover, the altar which was at Bethel and the high places which Jeroboam the son of Nebat had made who made Israel sin, had made both that altar and the high places he demolished, and burned the high place, and ground it to dust, and burned the idols. 16. And as Josiah returned, he saw the sepulchres that were there on the mount, and he sent and took the bones out of the sepulchres, and burned them upon the altar, and defiled it according to the word of the Lord, which the prophet of God proclaimed, who predicted these things." 17. Then the king said, "What monument is that which I see?" And the men of this city said, "It is the sepulchre of the prophet of God, who came from Judah, and proclaimed these things that you have done against the altar at Bethel." 18. And he said, "Let him alone. Let no man touch his sepulchre, and let no man move his bones." So the bones of the prophet of God spared the bones of the prophet, who came from Samaria from being burned. 19. And all the temples also of idols that were in the cities of Samaria, which the kings of Israel had made to provoke the Lord to anger, Josiah removed, and did to them according to all the acts that he had done in Bethel. 20. And he slew all the priests of the high places, who burned incense upon the altars, and burned men's bones upon them, and he returned to Jerusalem. 21. And the king commanded all the people, saying, "Keep the Passover of the Lord your God, as it is written in the book of this covenant." 22. Surely no such Passover had been kept from the days of the judges who judge Israel, nor in all the days of the kings of Israel, nor of the kings of Judah. 23. Like that in the 18th year of King Josiah, when this Passover was kept to the Lord in Jerusalem. 24. Moreover, the men with familiar spirits, and the wizards, and the images, and the idols, and all the abominations that were seen in the land of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem, did Josiah put away, that he might perform the words of the law which were written in the book that Hilkiah the priest found in the house of the Lord. 25. And like unto him there was no king before him, who turned to the Lord with all his heart, and with all his soul, and with all his might, according to all that which is written in the law of Moses. Neither after him arose there any like him. 26. Nevertheless the Lord did not turn from the fierceness of his great wrath, wherewith his anger was kindled against Judah, because of all the provocations with which Manasseh had provoked him. 27. And the Lord said, I will remove Judah also out of my sight, as I removed Israel, and I will cast off this city, Jerusalem, which I have chosen, and the house of which I have said, my name shall be there. 28. Now the rest of the acts of Josiah, and all that he did, behold, they are written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah. 29. In the days of Pharaoh, the lame king of Egypt, in the days of Pharaoh the lame, king of Egypt, went up against Magog, which is by the river Euphrates, and King Josiah went to meet him, to fight against him. And Pharaoh said to him, I have not come against you, turn aside from me. But Josiah did not listen to him, so Pharaoh smote him at Megiddo when he saw him there. 30. And his servants carried him in a chariot dead from Megiddo, and brought him to Jerusalem, and buried him there in his own sepulchre. And the people of the land took Jehoahaz the son of Josiah, and anointed him anointed him and made him king in his father's stead. 442, the first captivity of Judah. 31, Jehoahaz was 23 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 3 months in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Hamutal, the daughter of Jeremiah of Libnah. 32, and he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, just as Manasseh had done. 33, and Pharaoh the lame, king of Egypt, put him in bands at Diblath in the land of Hamath, when Pharaoh took over Jerusalem and levied on the land a tribute of 100 talents of silver and 10 talents of gold. 34, and Pharaoh the lame made Eliakim the son of Josiah in the place of Josiah his father, and changed his name to Jehoiakim, and took Jehoahaz away and brought him to Egypt, and he died there. 35, and Jehoiakim gave the silver and gold to Pharaoh, but he taxed the land to give the money, as he was commanded by Pharaoh. He exacted silver and gold from the people of the land, of everyone according to his means, to give it to Pharaoh the lame. 36, Jehoiakim was 25 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Zebudah, the daughter of Periah of Ramtah. 37, and he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all that his fathers had done. Here we go. Chapter 24. In his days Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came up against Jerusalem, and Jehoiakim became his servant 3 years. Then he turned and rebelled against him. 2. And the Lord stood up against him bands of the Chaldeans, and bands of the Edomites, and bands of the Moabites, and bands of the children of Ammon, and sent them against Judah to destroy it, according to the word of the Lord, which he spoke by his servants the prophets, from the mouth of the Lord. 3. And there came a fierce wrath against Judah to remove them out of his sight, on the account of the sins of Manasseh and all that he had done. 4. And also for the innocent blood that he had shed, for he filled Jerusalem with innocent blood, which the Lord would not pardon. 5. Now the rest of the acts of Jehoiakim and all that he did, behold, they are written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah. 6. So Jehoiakim slept with his fathers, and Jehoiachin his son reigned in his stead. 7. And the king of Egypt did not come out of his land, for the king of Babylon had taken all that belonged to the king of Egypt, from the river of Egypt to the river Euphrates. 8. Jehoiachin was 18 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 3 months in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Nehushta, the daughter of Eliathan of Jerusalem. 9. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all that his fathers had done. 10. And at that time Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came up against Jerusalem, the city, and besieged it. 11. And Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came against the city, and his servants were besieging it. 12. And Jehoiachin, the king of Judah, went out to the king of Babylon, he and his mother, and his servants, and his princes, and his eunuchs, and the king of Babylon took him with him in the 8th year of his reign. 13. And he carried out from there all the treasures of the house of the Lord, and the treasures of the king's house, and he cut in pieces all the vessels of gold which Solomon king of Israel had made for the temple of the Lord, as the Lord had said. 14. And he carried away all Jerusalem, and all the princes, and all the mighty men of valor, even 10,000 captives, and all the guardsmen, and all the guard, and he left none except the poorest people of the land. 15. And he carried away Jehoiachin to Babylon, and the king's mother, and the king's wives, and his eunuchs, and the princes of the land he carried into captivity from Jerusalem to Babylon. 443. The temple burned. 16. And all the men of might, even 7,000, and guardsmen, and a guard of 1,000, and all the men who were trained for war, even them the king of Babylon brought captive to Babylon. 17. Then the king of Babylon made Mattaniah the king's uncle king in his stead, and changed his name to Zedekiah. 18. Zedekiah was 21 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Hamutal, a daughter of Jeremiah of Libnah. 19. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all that Jehoiakim had done. 20. So the anger of the Lord was against Judah and against Jerusalem until he cast them out from his presence, and Zedekiah rebelled against the king of Babylon.